But part of it is that I want to be just a little bit better. I think I have more capacity. I want to inspire others to not be limited. And so leadership and success, everybody says, oh, okay, I have to achieve this ultimate level, whatever that is in their mind. No, you have to take little levels of success to get there. Those great leaps, that's not real. I mean, they sell good books, like those people that become millionaires in a minute. Like that's okay, it's a great book, and I wish that for you, but that's probably not your reality.
Welcome to Beyond the Blueprint, powered by Contractors, Closers, and Connections, Orlando. Join me for in-depth interviews with some of the top commercial real estate and development executives in the industry. We uncover their success stories, their strategies, and their lessons learned along the way. Gain valuable insight whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. Beyond the Blueprint podcast, we are sitting down with Nathan Griffis for part two, hearing about some of the amazing stories that he has to tell. He's a big story guy. But we're going to jump into...
That's sales, right? I mean, that's what we're being told. Like, we have to tell stories.
You got to have the art of storytelling,
yeah,
for sure. Well, you've mastered that, so kudos.
I haven't even got to the guy who lit his car on fire in the parking lot. Like, I got stories for days.
Good stories for days. So we're going to jump into some questions. Just some things that you've learned along your journey. You backed in part one, you backed into your origin story and kind of where you came from and how you got to Kuhachi, and even starting in the print room and now getting to being a principal of the company and being one of the influential leaders there. So I appreciate you sharing that story, but we're going to jump into some more intricate details. If you don't mind.
All right. No pressure.
So the first question is going to be, is there anything throughout your career that really jumps out at you that's a specific lesson that you learned that you maybe either had to overcome or that was an intricate part of your growth and your success?
I think it has to be just being willing to do the work. I mean, it's called work. And so it's really easy to just walk in and let things come to you. But I think you really have to lean in. One of the things I wish that I would have picked up maybe a little bit earlier is the difference between a career and a job.
Yeah. Go into that.
Yeah, because if you go into it with a job, like it's literally, okay, it's payday, I got to show up. These are the rules. These are the specific boxes that I have to check every day. But when you go, you know what? I'm going to make a career. Like I want this to be a thing for a while.
Right.
You're going to bring your best self to the table and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to improve. Like, I'm not going to stay where I'm at. Like, I'm going to ask good questions. I'm going to follow up. Like, I'm going to be present in the moment. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to work to make relationships. I'm going to build a community because I'm going to need that community at some point, someplace. And I feel bad for those individuals who are like, okay, this is just my job.
Right.
Like the real relationships, that is where all of the value is. And that sounds like good marketing speak. It's like, oh yeah, let's build relationships, let's network and all that stuff. But legitimately, I have some of the best friendships. We're not in the same company anymore. Some of us are not even in the same industry, but it's part of the networks and the relationships that I built being present in the moment and doing the work.
So I want to go into those relationships, right? So what is something that you think is very valuable in creating a relationship early on, and then like to have it sustain and have a longevity to the relationship?
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Humility. I think those are two big factors in it. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's fake. Mm-hmm. And part of that, really, the humility side comes in with being willing to just recognize, okay, you know what? I'm not great at this.
Right.
Whatever that is, like just own it and look for people that can come around you that can actually be great at that stuff.
Right.
Like you need those people, but not trying to hide it because everybody reads through it anyways. I don't know why we feel so compelled that we have to be something that we're not.
Right.
Like I am what I am. Not everybody likes that. And I have to be okay with that. Right. But there are some people that I've met along the way and they're like, okay, we really like you. Mm-hmm. And I want to be liked just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, authenticity and humility are two of the big factors there.
I think especially in our business, there's a level of, there's sales and business development, and you've got individuals who are, selling companies in a sense. But it's formed as if they're creating a relationship, but like you said, I mean, you see right through that. When it's nothing but, hey, can I work for you? Can I do it? It's like you don't want to build a relationship.
No.
Some of the people that I work for, we work for. I mean, I'm good buddies with. I'm like, I'll go golfing with this guy. I'll go hunting with this guy. I'll hang out with him and his wife, and his kids and all that stuff. And I think, if in this industry, and specifically business, if you look at relationships and you understand that you have to have relationships in order to build a business, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it as like a one-sided relationship where it's like, I'm only going to get from you, it's not a real relationship. It's conditional, right? And so I think you have to be really genuine. So I think that's super important. So I'm glad that you touched on that. And being authentic is true. I think we all want to be liked.
Yeah.
I think it's a desire that we all have. But the truth is not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. But you just find the people that you do.
Yeah. Lonnie modeled that really early. I saw Lonnie model that. Now, Lonnie wasn't always an easy guy, but the people and it was different when you were external and internal a little bit. And because he was uber competitive.
Right.
I mean, I think you have to be an entrepreneur. And so you're really grinding some stuff out. But anybody who met him in the business world, like he was just a Nebraska farm boy.
Yeah.
And I grew up across the street from a farm in Ohio. It's not quite the same. Like Nebraska that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't like totally try to emulate that, but there is something about I embrace Midwestern charm. Like, I'm sorry if you're not from the Midwest, but there is something legit to that. Yeah. And it comes with sarcasm and some other really kind of negative, passive aggressive stuff that we all try to deal with. But really, I think when you say to somebody, listen, I want to do business with you, but I want you to win as my client. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to show up and I'm going to own my mistakes. I'm not going to try to hide from them. This isn't just I get. This is I'm going to give some stuff, and that comes in a lot of different forms.
Well, and Gary Vaynerchuk says that give, then ask. Right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
You've got to give a bunch of times, and I think that's important. I think in a relationship, you've got to understand in a relationship that you're creating around business, you've got to understand that dynamic. Yeah. You can't just go, "Hey, what can you do for me?"
Yeah,
kind of
right.
thing, because that's at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I'm never going to talk to that guy because all he's doing is asking for stuff, and it's not real.
It's like don't be so annoying, right? It's like, okay, we've been LinkedIn friends for 10 seconds, and I think somebody posted this recently. It's like, okay, that was fast. We befriended, and you're already trying to sell me something. Right. It's like
we're going to create a quote card that says, "Don't be so annoying," with me and you sitting here on the spot.
Dial it back.
Yeah. So next thing we're going to get into is calculated risk. How do you look at risk and view them? A lot of people look at them different. Some people, they'll bet the farm and don't look back. Some people take very calculated risk. And then what are some things that you do when you do take those risks?
I have my personality profile says I'm really okay with ambiguity. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning some of these like cheat codes in life. Like, it's not universal. Like, there are some people that really struggle with ambiguity. So risk because of that isn't really as strong.
Right.
I'm also like tenacious, so I don't give up on something too early, and that's really helped me to address or probably take some risks that other people would look at and go, that's kind of crazy. So it's not universal. But I think at the end of the day, I've embraced the mantra of failing fast. Like, it's okay to fail, just do it really, really fast. And if you go into it making a calculated risk, you can actually stretch and not be stuck in this place where, okay, this just feels like too far. No, just if you can move the needle a little bit, accept just a little bit of risk. Try to find some ways that you can bring other people in and maybe share the risk. If you're willing to do those steps and not just lock yourself away and go, okay, I'm in this bubble, I'm going to protect everything because I'm so scared to let anything go, that's how things ultimately die. Right.
Well, it's having that hoarder mentality.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, I'm just going to not do anything. I'm not going to take any risk. I'm just going to stay in my box. And then it just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of value there of what you said about taking small little steps. Right. So you think about it like if you're working out. Right. So you don't just start pounding a bunch of weight all of a sudden. You slowly build up, and
Especially when you're older, man.
Right.
You got to go a little slower in that. You probably don't know this yet, but some things happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm definitely going slow.
Yeah, I'm going to go slow and steady, right? And that's the trajectory of growth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what's the biggest misconception that you would say of just success and reaching a high level in the industry? This could be something that maybe the outward perception is X and the inward internal reality is Y.
Success looks different for everybody. My wife, we were preparing to go to this event, and there was going to be some people there and that probably would be considered influential. And my wife knows me. We've been married for, I think, 23 years. Man, she's going to see this on YouTube, and I'm not going to remember how many years. It's 23, I think. But we were going there, and she knows me so well. And I can be a little bit like much. And so she's like, be yourself, just a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And it was her way of saying, okay, I don't want you to be somebody different because that's not a fair ask, but I want you just to be mindful and just be a little bit better. And I think you just touched on it. It's incremental change. And so I think I've tried for the last 15 years, like I've been really 15 so years, I've tried to be very, very focused on making small improvements in myself, being aware and going, okay, I'm going to read this book. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm back in business school in part because I don't want artificial ceilings to stop me. But part of it is that I want to be just a little bit better. I think I have more capacity. I want to inspire others to not be limited. And so leadership and success, everybody says, oh, okay, I have to achieve this ultimate level, whatever that is in their mind. No, you have to take little levels of success to get there. Those great leaps, that's not real. I mean, they sell good books, like those people that become millionaires in a minute. Like that's okay. It's a great book. And I wish that for you, but that's probably not your reality.
It's very minority
Yeah.
people that actually do that. And you're right. I mean, they do sell great books because I think we live in a world today where we need that instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And I think that, success obviously looks different to a lot. Sometimes it's freedom. Sometimes it's financial freedom. Sometimes it's having a job that they love. Sometimes it's working from home. I mean, it could be a number of spending more time with their family, but I do believe that there is a little bit of growth that's associated with that. Yeah. So you have to have some incremental steps of growth in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. What are some effective ways that you build and manage a team underneath you?
I'm all in on peopling. So I told you my origin story, how I got into architecture, I'm just now really appreciating the profession of architecture. I'm in the people business, and like architecture is just my outlet, or has been for a long time. Right. And so I'm all in on the engagement of people, and sometimes that's my clients, sometimes that's consultants, sometimes that's contractors, sometimes that's my team. And I think the legitimacy of wanting to just put them in a position to win, it looks different for everybody else. But when you do that, like that's how you build a team. Mm-hmm. Like that is like every sports analogy you've ever heard, all of those success stories. Like we are not in an industry where it takes one person.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned a lot, people winning, right? And I think that's it's one of your passions, and you've found to be very important in not only success, but building a business, growing in your career. I think you touched on that, and I think it is something that is invaluable because it translates to your relationship with those people. You genuinely want them to win. I think there's a cohesiveness that's brought between that relationship, that team that you're building, that everybody's on the same page. We're all rowing in the right direction because I want you to win. And there's this psychological dynamic that's built where they want you to win, right? Yeah. So they're going to do whatever they can to help you win. And then, it's just kind of this effect that just keeps building and building that ultimately builds a successful team. Yeah. Today's episode is brought to you by Bryce Knuth of Insurance Office of America. As a contractor or real estate owner in Florida, you've likely experienced the impact of rising insurance premiums year after year. With the challenging insurance marketplace, having a specialist who focuses on your industry is critical now more than ever before. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your current insurance program or don't have a relationship with your current broker, please contact Bryce Knuth at 407-697-6944 via call or text, or email bryce.knuth@ioausa.com. Don't let rising insurance costs catch you off guard. Reach out to Bryce today.
You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, and so he's big on empathy.
Yeah.
And he's like, if there was ever a time in society where we needed empathy to show up in a big way, it's right now. And I think that all layers into building team. It's like, okay, I'd love for everybody to take whatever baggage they bring to the office and just leave it at the door and then come in and have a great day and then pick it up and go home with it. That's not reality.
Right.
It's just simply not reality. And so if we're not mindful and actually give a crap. I mean, that's it. Like the people who have influenced me the most in life, like I legitimately felt like they gave a crap. And so I want to reciprocate that. I want to know, hey, you know what? Somebody just had their mom move in with them. I bet that's tough.
Right.
That someone was me. I mean, that stuff impacts us.
Yeah.
That's probably why I forgot my wallet, my phone today.
Right.
So you can't expect for people to completely leave all that stuff. And so if you can just emotionally support them. I'm not talking about being their support human.
You don't need a full-on counseling session in the middle of the office.
But I legitimately care.
Yeah.
And I can't always help, but I legitimately care.
Right. And you can listen.
Yeah.
And sometimes all people want to do is listen. They just want to be heard.
Yeah.
So let's go over setbacks and failures. So how do you handle setbacks and failures? And how has that either progressed or not progressed throughout the years?
Man, I do not like to lose. I am so super competitive. I'm that guy who never lets his kids win, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Always beating them in the backyard.
No, I'm trying to be better.
Yeah.
No, I really don't deal well with setbacks. But I've learned that you need them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to learn from them. Like if you're winning all of the time, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
Like you're not in a place where you're actually being challenged. And so if you really want to grow, like you have to find those limiting factors.
Sure.
I've ran a few marathons. I'm not running right now, but I've ran a few marathons, and I would get to a place where I would hit this threshold for a long time. It was like 10 miles, and like my body would just go, "Oh, you're at 10 miles, you're done." And I'd be like, "Okay, I'm done." And I had to mentally trick myself to be able to get past that barrier by running a different direction.
No way.
Absolutely, because every time I would get to that 10-mile spot, it was like, "Yep, this is the spot where you quit." And so I think sometimes like you have to reach those failing points to even find another path. You have to look for another path to get around that obstacle, because chances are the obstacle's you.
Right.
It's not somebody, it's not something, it's not some barrier. It's usually your own mind or your own ability that you're saying, okay, I got to find new education. I got to find a new mentor. I got to find some other path to get around this.
Right. And find something to push you further.
Yeah.
You know, there's I think David Goggins talks about it, but like it's the marathon runner's wall or something like that. It's like what they taught them in the Marines was that whenever their body felt like they were done, they were only like 80%
Oh,
done.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so it's like they still had another 20% left.
And it's so totally true. Yeah. And that's honestly why I ran was mental.
Yeah.
Like, because I got more focus out of it mentally. And so when you meet a lot of these like freakish athletes, like they've just their mind is 100% just telling them body to shut up.
Yeah. They can't be beat.
Yeah.
It's a winner's mentality.
Yep.
And you know, some people can look at that as like arrogant, but you know, I was an athlete. I mean, it was something that had to push you to the next level. You were not going to get better if you like didn't have that confidence in yourself. And so I don't believe it is an arrogance, but I do believe it is something that you need to continue to push yourself, push those limits, get to the next level if you want to. And some people are just fine being complacent and just stay in their own life.
You could call it arrogant, or in some ways you could just call it like setting back. I mean,
Right.
you're complacent, like,
Right.
or discipline. Like the other side of that is discipline. Like
Right.
I'm going to be disciplined about, like, I get up every day at 4:00 and I do classwork before I go to work.
Yeah.
Like it's discipline, and I don't
It
love
sucks.
it. I don't love it.
Yeah.
And some days I really don't love
Right.
it. But at the end of the day, like, if I want to get past a barrier, I
Right.
have to be disciplined.
Right. You've got to push those limits.
Yeah.
So how would you say you maintain a productive and positive mindset through, I mean, even things like that, like waking up at 4 and it's tired, you were up late the night before, you know, you might've been with the kids, you might've been out or whatever, but you got to wake up and do it. And that's not a bunch of positive emotions and thoughts running through your head at 4 a.m. when you're super tired.
So there's two factors to that. One, I legitimately, like, I don't, it's a joke between my wife and I. We talk about people who are oversaved. Like, they're the people that have like 18 bumper stickers on the back of their car. Like, I'm a follower of Jesus, and I feel like I was made for, to bring him glory. So some days, like, legitimately, I'm like, okay, am I really making him look good if I'm a jerk?
Right.
Because some days I really legitimately want to be a jerk.
Right.
And the other thing is I tell my team this a lot. Like, I'm allowed to have bad days.
Yeah.
I just choose to not let you see them.
Right.
Because one of the other lessons that I learned is when you're in a position of leadership or authority, like, the silliest words have way more meaning.
You carry a lot of weight.
Yeah, like, you walk in and you just start talking about, like, hey, the market's looking a little slow. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're going to
be laid off.
I'm going to be laid off. I got to, they're planning for, like, their exit strategy or moving back home into their parents' house. I mean, it's like, no, I just noticed the stock market took a dip. So I try to be mindful of those things. And sometimes, like, no, nobody likes this statement, fake it till you make it. But sometimes it's just making up your mind. Like, I'm not going to be that guy.
Right.
I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to, because I don't like being around those people. So I have to be mindful and I don't want to not be around myself.
Right. Right. You sit in a dark room.
No, don't go away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's super important is I don't believe it's like fake it till you make it, but it's almost just like pushing through.
Yeah.
Right. Because sometimes the negative emotions or the negative circumstances, they're not forever.
No.
But in our mind, we sometimes can think that they are and be overwhelmed or whatever. You just got to push through. You just push through to the next stage of life, next season. Even, I mean, it could be the next moment. You walk out of your office and have a completely different day than you did sitting in front of your computer. So I appreciate you sharing a lot of that insight. It's definitely valuable information that I think a lot of people are searching for. And need to hear. So I appreciate that.
Life's difficult. Like, I mean, it can be really, really hard and overwhelming at times. And somehow it's amazing what we can overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing that ever says there is no easy button. Like, contrary to every marketing spiel, there really is very few things in life that are easy.
Right.
And so you have to find some mechanisms that help you grow through some stuff. And actually get over yourself sometimes.
Right. Get over yourself. All right, Nathan, we're going to go into rapid fire.
Oh,
that's okay.
Good. I'm excited.
Short, sweet. Is there something that people don't know about you?
So, like, when we play Three Truths and a Lie, like, one of the things I go to is, I've parented, 9 boys by 7 different women. But I gotta then, like, I gotta preface it. I was a foster dad to several boys, and over a period of 3 years, and I have 1 biological son, but I have a lot of foster sons.
Yeah, it's really admirable. I've heard that story a number of times. So
no, it changed my family dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, it changed. Like, there was a lot that changed on the inside of us when you realize, okay, my life really isn't that bad.
Right.
Like some of those kids have experienced more trauma in the first like few years of their life
Right.
than I've ever seen.
Right. When are you the most productive?
4:00 in the morning.
4:00. I'm a 4:30 guy.
No,
So.
it's probably legitimately. It's probably not till 5.
Okay.
But I'm definitely an early person.
Okay. Who's your inspiration?
That's a great, difficult question. I'm actually in the process of rebuilding this whole list of inspirations. So I've got a new mantra. I'm no longer looking for inspiration in people that are alive, because I've had some alive people
They let you down.
that they let me down. Like they changed. And it's like, what happened? Like I was totally digging everything that you're laying down, but now you're just in a different spot.
Right.
I don't like the direction. So I'm looking for dead people
Yeah,
that
that's
have
good.
that have wrote some books that I can take some inspiration from. So I'm trying to weed through that.
Yeah. Some of them are great. And, you know, you don't really know the actual true history about some of the stuff. So, and they weren't in a time where there was media now. So
Yeah.
you don't really know.
I mean, I'm so thankful we didn't have social media when I was a kid.
Yeah. What's something new happening in your life right now?
Oh man, I'm empty nesting.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind for the parents who are listening to this. Like there is a light, and I know
There
this
is a light.
it sounds so terrible, right? But there's something incredible about kind of reinventing your relationship with your mate, and you have to do it.
Right.
You have to do it. But like experiencing life, like we used to wait up for him to come home from work.
Right.
Like now, if it's 11 o'clock, I have no idea where he is, and I'm totally cool with it.
Right. There is a light. How do you start your day?
It's school. It's school. That's virtually every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. I'd love to tell you that it's like, you know, all peaceful and all this stuff, and God's disappointed in me, but I've got to knock that schoolwork out.
What's an advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh, I think I mentioned it earlier. It's career over job. That'd be something that I think would be really valuable.
Career over job.
Yeah.
What's something that scares you?
So this is going to sound like I'm cocky. I'm not some superhero, but I don't really operate with fear. I've never really been afraid. I think leaders, one of my favorite quotes, or leaders just really don't have a really good sense of what failure looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not afraid, and they just get stuff done. And so I just don't have that within me. So sometimes it sincerely led to some stupid stuff.
Right.
But I don't think we should be driven by fear. Like,
Right.
I think we should be driven by hope, by a future. Because if we're driven by fear, like we're stuck living in some past space.
Right. If you had to describe yourself in 5 words, what would it be?
So, I'm blessed. Like I really, life's been good to me. I'm a builder, like not just physical, but I like to build things and people. I'm a protagonist, which this is a new word. Like I'm glad you fed me this one question in advance, because I'm like building out my whole value statement around it. But and I found this great personality profile. I totally dig that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was like protagonist, not like your position in like a movie, but it talked about somebody who just doesn't operate by fear as a leader. I'm loyal, sometimes to a fault. Like I do let some people take advantage of me, and I know that, and thankfully I have a wife that highlights those to me. And
hey, you need to get rid of this.
Yeah, I like to I would say humble, but it's weird because I'm also an extrovert, and so sometimes people have a hard time seeing humility in extroverts. Because they think that, okay, that humble thing, they should be more reserved. And I'm not reserved.
Right.
I enjoy talking to people. And so sometimes they're like, oh, well, there's no way he's humble. But I really try to operate with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last but not least, if you can ask or tell God one thing, what would it be?
No, that one's easy. It's thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been good.
Oh man, blessed. That's how I start. It's been it's been a heck of a journey, but it's an adventure. I oftentimes say God's the greatest adventure guide.
Yeah.
Like it's not the easy button. It's not but wonderful plan for your life. I think that's the worst sermon message ever. Because sometimes life is not wonderful, but if you follow him, it's an adventure.
Absolutely. Nathan, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you sitting here sharing some stories. It's been invaluable. It's been something that I wish we could do more. So maybe there'll
Well,
be a
you have
part
to
3 and a
invite me.
part 4.
You have to invite me back. Like maybe you run out of like better people to invite, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole I got to fill.
Yeah, we'll be back. Well, I appreciate it, man. Beyond the Blueprint podcast, this has been a great time sitting down with Nathan Griffis with Kuhachi Peterson. Make sure to tune in. Join us next week for our next sit-down interview. Thanks. See you soon.